These, although not having the law, are a law to themselves, who show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness between themselves, their thoughts accusing or else excusing them. In the day when God will judge the secrets, that is, the intents of your thoughts. That's what he calls secrets, not your thoughts. The intents of your thoughts are the secrets. Then you have the thoughts. Then you have the action. The action is the last thing that shows up. Of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. So let's continue. Go back to verse 19. What purpose then served the law? It, the law of Moses, all of it, not just the Ten Commandments. It was added. Why? Why was the law added? It was added because people were sinning. It was added because people were sinning. Until the law served the purpose until Jesus Christ is born. In the law, you had more than just commandments and ordinances and statutes. The most important part of the law was not the statutes, were not the commandments, were not the ordinances or the washings and all this other stuff that goes along with it. The most important part of the law was the sacrifices that pointed to the seed. Do you understand that? The most important part of the law isn't the commandments that you and I break every single day. The most important part of the law was that, because it was the only part of the law that could satisfy God with a proper, acceptable payment for my sin and for your sin. Seed, yes, the seed of Eve. Remember what God told Eve in Genesis chapter 3. Your seed is going to crush the head of the serpent. Remember what he told Abraham. In your seed, all these things, these promises that I gave, are going to come to pass. Then he gave a promise to David. Your seed is going to continue upon the throne forever. So there's 3 references to the exact same seed. Christ Jesus, the Lord. And I will put enmity, here it is, Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between you and the woman, you being Satan, the woman being Eve, between your seed, and here's something that is very out of place, her seed, because women do not carry seeds. But this woman did. Why? Because God said she was a virgin. Eve, no. No. The woman who was going to actually give birth to the seed. He's literally talking about Mary. But the promise was given to the woman. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Now, here's Abraham, Genesis 22. In your seed, Abraham, all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. In what way? There will be people saved out of every single nation that has ever came on the face of the earth, because you have obeyed my voice. Now you say, oh, all these people are going to be born again because Abraham was obedient. Get out of here. Nobody gets sins forgiven because they obey. Don't you get it? That's not what the Bible teach. The forgiveness of sins come one way and one way only, by the blood. You need blood, friends, to get rid of sin. Obedience have nothing to do with forgiveness of sins. And here's David, 2 Samuel chapter 7. When your days, speaking to David, are fulfilled and you rest, die with your fathers, I will set up your seed after you, who will come from your body, and I will establish his kingdom, speaking of Christ. He shall build a house for my name. What house is he talking about? The house he's talking about is what? One, his body, the physical body. Two, the new Jerusalem. So that's what the Lord is talking about. They're synonymous, friends. Christ's body is the new Jerusalem. And here is the last one. Should come in human flesh, to whom the promise was made, and it was appointed through angels by the hand of a mediator. This is coming out of the book of Hebrews, by the way. Now a mediator does not mediate for one only, meaning you have to have two parties for somebody to go between. So you had to have a holy God and sinful people for God to have a mediator, or for us to even need a mediator. That's his whole point. Christ would be useless if, in fact, no one sinned. See why sin was necessary? If Christ was going to be a mediator, you had to have somebody to mediate on the behalf of. Meaning that there must be at least two people involved in a matter to require someone to be a referee or a negotiator. But God is one. The problem here is that there is only one person who gave the promise and ratified the promise by himself, to himself, for himself. If that is true, and it is, then why in the world would God require a mediator when he's the one who made the promise? He ratified the promise by himself, for himself, to himself. The answer is simply because God is holy, righteous, and just. You may now be asking, what's wrong with that? Well, the problem with God being holy, righteous, and just is that we, you and I, are unholy, unrighteous, and unjust. So the question is, what does a holy, righteous, and just God do with people like us? What? What does he do with you? What does he do with me? He can't accept my person. He can't accept your person. Why not? Because if he's just, then the soul that sinned must die. If he's holy, then the one who is unholy is unclean and cannot enter into his presence. If he is in fact righteous and you and I are unrighteous, then what does he do with people like us? He can't just overlook it. And you can't wash it off.